What is going on, guys? Penzik here with Reaper Airsoft as always. Today we're going to do a little quick video on how to change out your battery connectors on your gun here. Sometimes these things get fried, and that's what happened in this case. So we're going to go over this. Let's see. Pop the butt plate off, make sure everything's out of the way. Straighten it up. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is try and remove all the stuff that's going to impede you getting away. So I took off the stock. I'm going to take off the buffer tube just to kind of give me some more room to work with the wires without having to worry about anything getting in the way. So give me 1 second. Long screwdriver down the buffer tube. Pull it off. And I'll show you why we're changing out the connector on this one here. Alright, we should be far enough out. And pop that off. Alright, so we got the buffer tube and the stock off. Let's get everything a little out of the way. So, I don't know if you guys can see this, but first off, this wire's been ripped out. And that connector, as you can see, has been pretty much melted, pretty much fried. So it's not really in the best shape anymore, and it's going to need new wire. So the tools that you're going to need is obviously a replacement connector. Now, if you can, I highly recommend upgrading to a DIN connector set. That way you don't melt the small tamiya connectors. The DIN connectors offer, higher flow and everything because there's less resistance there. So you're not melting the connector itself. So you're definitely going to need to make sure you have everything to do it with. So we need one of the male connectors, then 2 of the female prongs. Break these free. Maybe, if they want to break. Grab nippers and just cut it. There we go, that's one. Let me grab the second. Just break it free from the strip. There we go. And cut the extra tab off. So there is our new male, our 2 pins. Put the rest of this away because we don't need the battery side. Some of the other tools that you're possibly going to need, besides a screwdriver, is something to cut and or strip the wires, needle nose, nippers, whatever has a blade to it. And then I use one of the crimping tools for the connectors themselves. That way we can dig everything in. If yours isn't melted to this point, where you're not going to get it out, you could use a pin press tool where you can just press the pin out. It goes into the holes of the connector itself, and you can push the pin out and it'll actually pop the pin and the wire out. Since these are melted and there's no chance of saving any of it, we're actually going to get rid of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're gonna get this shrink tube that's been kind of destroyed. We're gonna give it a cut real quick, and we're gonna go all the way around and clean up the shrink tube and get it out of our way. So that's that. We're going to slice it right up the middle here to cut it out and pull it off. Now this is a dull blade. You're going to want to make sure you have a sharp blade when you do these, or else you're going to have fun trying to cut through the shrink tube and everything else. As you can see, it's not the easiest with a dull blade, but you can do it. And we're going to just get the shrink tube out of the way so we have access to the wires. And the reason we need access to the wires is because I need to mark which wire is which. Since both of these are the same color, we don't have the red and the black that designate positive and negative. I need to mark physically which one is which, so I know when I got to take this off. Let me heat this shrink tube up, re-shrink it. It's seen better days, but it'll still work. Now the easiest way, when you got both colors that are both wires are the same color. The easiest way to tell which one's positive, which one's negative is if you look at the block itself, the tamiya connector itself. You'll notice that one of them is square and the other one is round. So your round is always your positive, and if you ever forget, I don't think I have a normal tamiya battery out. Let's go take a look. We'll pop one open real quick. So we'll grab an Elite Force 9.6 nunchuck, and we'll take a look at the battery. That way you guys can see it. So just check your battery. If you still have a tamiya connector on your battery, red wire, circle hole, black wire, square hole. That way you guys know and you can verify which one, just to make sure in case you ever forget that. Just check your battery to be certain. You don't want to hook it up backwards, because then you're going to have to try and redo it. And if you don't have a pin pusher, it's going to be pretty hard. So my red wire is still stuck in there. So what I'm going to do, just for future reference, I have a Sharpie. I'm going to take a little bit and I'm going to mark a black streak on the wire. That way I know which one the negative is. So negative wire is now marked, positive wire is still in there. Now we don't want to try and save any of the wire up here that's been exposed or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it off and we're going to start fresh. So old connector, you can see it's melted. Normally this happens because you're probably running a LiPo or something of the sort with a higher powered output. And when you run a higher powered output battery on a tamiya connector, since the tamiya connectors aren't really the most energy efficient, there's a lot of resistance built up into them. It heats up that plastic on the tamiya and it just melts it. So I stripped both wires. We're going to take this little pin and we're going to crimp it in our crimper, and I'll do a normal crimp first. Let's see, I think it's this gauge right here. So that's the gauge I want. So we're going to get it all set, bend the tabs in a little bit. We're going to set it in, and I'm only going to go so far. See if I can get it, show you guys. Alright, so I've got it started. Maybe one more. There we go. Alright, I'm going to pull it back out now. That way you guys can see exactly what this tool does. So, I hope you guys can see that. It's kind of small. See if I can get any closer. Hopefully it focuses. The wire, or the metal itself, because of the tool, starts to get curled over. So when it curls over and you go to crimp it the rest of the way after you have the wire in there, that piece actually digs into the wire itself, into the casing around the wire, sleeving if you will, and crimps it tight into it. So we've got to push the wire in. I pushed the wire in. We're going to finish the crimp process, pop it out, and I got just a little strand I got to clean up, but the silver pieces that we just crimped were actually rolled down into the casing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it in the next step down, and I'm going to give it an extra crimp so it's nice and snug for the size that it is. So now, since it's actually crimped into the wire and rolled into it, it'll never pull out. It's actually in there pretty solid. And since I've got a little extra strand hanging out, I'm going to take my nippers and I'm going to curl it in. I'm going to press it in and cut the extra off. So that one's done. Alright guys, so I've got the next one. We're going to squeeze the tabs together a little bit so we can get it started. A little bit more. That way it's started at least. So I've got it started. I'm going to feed the wire in. A little bit of twist to keep everything there. Push it in. Finish crimping. Pop it up. Go over to the next stage and finish tightening it down. There we go. So So that one's crimped and locked in. Alright, so negative wire is going to go into my square. All I got to do is press until it clicks in and locks. So I've got my negative in there, and my positive will get pushed in and locked into place. So we got a new connector. Everything's done and taken care of, and we should be good to go now. If this video helped you out, give me a thumbs up and a like. If it didn't, give me a thumbs down.